As a person who plays Wizard101 daily as much as I physically can, I can tell you firsthand, I have been around since 2010. Theoretically, I've been around since 2008. Lost my official account, I think. I really gotta look around for that. I know I have at least one account that has a 2008 somewhere. But this is my official beta account. Somewhere beyond this and the other one, I consider this beta enough because I can't figure out my other account at the moment. But I have been around since 2008, which I officially have, like, day one release account. Right now on Steam, since I linked, and I do have how to link your original account to Steam on my channel somewhere. Just go and check it out. But I have almost 1,754 hours in this whole game since the release of Wizard101 on Steam. So, I only own a max balance, but I'm going to make a video on the pros and cons of each individual school as much as I physically know, for newcomers and oldcomers. And if you guys want, subscribe if you enjoy the video, and smash the like button just so it helps the YouTube algorithm. I'm trying to grow this channel at least as fast as I physically can. I don't plan on having a super high-end YouTube channel. I was gonna say Wizard101 channel, but theoretically it's not there yet. But I do want you guys to help me out. Guys, I do apologize for doing this in Test Realm, but I wanted to do it in Test Realm because of the new spells that are coming out, okay? And I can't do this video if I do it in Live Realm because they don't have the new spells in. So, I wanted to start out with balance since I have been a balance since 08, okay? And I wanted to basically explain balance has basically almost everything. Literally everything you could ever imagine. High health, high accuracy in the beginning of the game. Basically, they are middle ground amazing. For myself, I have realized over the time of talking to people who do PvP, they basically are terrified of balance because due to one specific spell, and that is mana burn. If I were to spam mana burn and pip conserve as a 140, I can literally mana burn all the way up until they die. Now, I want to explain something. Basically, mana burn is fantastic. I don't PvP. I'm going to be straight up honest with you guys. I do not PvP. I have 1 win, 0 losses. I'm on a positive streak. But I have done a lot, and I mean a lot of tournaments, and I lose every time. I just do it just because. If you have noticed tournaments, I have won 1, and I have 2,161 points. Now, here's the problem. Balance has a huge disadvantage when it comes down to weaknesses. I have stressed this in almost every single test realm, live realm, almost any kind of event for the last year and a half now. And honestly, I have had a huge conversation with a lot of people on Twitter, Discord, and everything. I'm slowly understanding that balance cannot learn something that will be very helpful for them. And I'm going to be straight up reasonable. I feel there is one way KingsIsle can cause this one thing to be fixed and very, very quickly. And I'm going to teach you guys how to do this very simply. See this spell right here? I feel balance blades should not go off on a wand hit at all. Meaning, if you have a shadow wand hit, they should not go off on a wand hit. If you hit with a balance wand hit, then it should. But for anything beyond balance wand hits, they shouldn't go off at all. Like, legit. And I'll tell you why. So, if I have this on me, which is the weakness 25, and a death spell of bad juju in a boss battle, I now have 115 weaknesses on me. The percentage of 115. Meaning, I am basically, if I have this, and this on me, or if I have one more blade and put that as my normal, and I have a normal, 2 enchanted, and 1 blue blade on me, or even just 2 blades, because I have had people complain balance should not blade stack, and I can't help it. It's just something I've always done as a solo player. But if I get screwed, I have no other choice but to do that. I don't go anything higher than at least 3 to 4. If I can get 1 more off, but normally I'm around the 3 blades on a balance, because I can get it fast enough. But if the RNG screws me, and I have a death boss and a balanced minion, and I get screwed with 2 weaknesses on me, I cannot get out of that without being screwed. Meaning I have to wand hit out of 3 blades, and if, let's say, somehow I kill the minion, and I still have the boss that has a bad juju, and I try to kill this boss, I physically cannot stack blades, and I'm going to run out of cards. And I'm going to be straight up honest with you guys. I have seen people rock this many spells out of any class, and I haven't had any problems yet. Now, hear me out. So, you guys are saying the reason why you cannot blade stack or counter a weakness is because balance is known for weaknesses. Now, you can't say that, because death is just as bad, but yet they can sacrifice for less damage because of weaknesses. So if they have the 2 weaknesses I just spoke of, that's their pro. Now, I'm going to start talking about death now. Death is OP as heck. They can sacrifice for health. They can basically, almost every hit they have is a hit into an absorb. Basically, they can heal themselves with half their damage they do to any mob. And also, on top of all that, recently, I think it was like late last year or something like that, King's Isle unlocked the ability for them to have half of what they do to somebody or a mob. They get half that back as health. Before, it was basically the base damage before the enchant that goes into it that they get the half health back. Plus, like, if they blade stack or trap stack or whatever, that will go on top of their health back as well. But before they enchanted it, if they enchanted it, it would do the damage, but you have to remove the enchant. Just like if you were to calculate inside of a calculator and stuff, if you take that enchant away, that's what they would have had. But they also have the same health, somewhat, to balance, and all this, that, and the third. Just think about balance, but as a way to hit and take it back. That is basically what I'm talking about. And what I was talking about with the weaknesses is that they have a negative 90 a negative 30, I believe. I think it was either 20 or 40. I forgot exactly, but they have like 3 different weaknesses that can go onto one single person if they wanted to, plus a negative 40 that literally goes to anyone on the opposite team. So theoretically, if somebody was to ever say balance cannot counter a weakness, it's because of their weaknesses that they are controlled. You can't say that. Now we're going to talk about Storm. I wish I could show you a Storm, but I can't. So we're going to talk about Storm for a minute. Storm, early game, they have very low accuracy. They barely are able to cast. And there's some hiccups that they have. But their pro is basically absolute destruction. You could hit somebody and they'll die in like one hit, half the time. Once you get to 50, if you can't one-shot something as a Storm, there's a problem. But early game, their con is basically, they're absolutely horrible with casting. It's the same thing with fire. If you can't kill something by level 60 as a fire with the new upgraded Fire Dragon or Rain of Fire, there's something wrong. They're both basically powerhouses, and honestly, with my own opinion, I kind of chose Fire over Storm. Just saying. It's not the fact that I don't like Storm, it's just Fire. I don't know why, but I don't like the heat outside in real life, but I love burning things alive. It's just my absolute favorite. So the reason why I'm separating them by parts is because Ice and Life are basically similar. Storm and Fire are similar because they're attack classes. Ice and Life are like the tanky class. Myth is their own special curriculum, and I'll get into that after. The reason why Death and Balance are the way they are is because they're very similar. They're supportive classes. Now we're going to talk about Ice and Life. Ice is basically one of, if not the highest and tankiest class of them all. I feel a little stupid. I also forgot to mention that Ice can also stun naturally for 0 pips instead of for 1 pip by using Freeze. And also, on top of all that, like Stormlord, they have Frost Giant. Forgot to mention that while I was editing. Sorry about that, Ice. Also, I forgot to also mention that there's one last thing that the Ice is very known for, which is taunting, which is used by Angel and also a thing called Taunt. There's a few other classes that like to utilize it, but I've seen more Ices utilize the actual spell of Taunt more than other classes with like Pacify and other odds and ends. But with Angel and the actual spell Taunt, Ice is the reason why I think Ice belongs as the strongest tanky class. They are very low on damage from level 1 to almost level 90. And I'll explain to you why. Look at Frost Beetle as this is a strong. So if you go to here and go to, go to here, which would be here, and you go to this right here, this enchant right here, is what half of these are. If you have, I messed up. This right here, that would be an enchanted strong on a Frost Beetle. So, Frost Beetle is 75 to 115, 65 to 105. Now, hear me out on why I say that they're weak. If you go to an Abominable Weaver as a 100, because if you go to Malastaire's dungeon, which is the 100 dungeon that has the strongest robe in the game, you can basically go to Malastair and get a 790 to 910. So that's referencing... I can't really imagine it because like I said, I'm not an ice. Or I'm just basically balanced at the moment. I am working on a fire right now. Just might I add. But basically, they're very, very weak. From 1 to 90. And then the moment they hit 100, they are almost... they're pretty strong. Because Abominable Weaver has a negative 50 on it. If you hit... If you have to deal with another person, you get a negative 50 for free. Now, this is why I wanted to bring up Storm really quick as well, since we're talking about shadow hits. Glowbug and Rizalka's Wrath. Look at that damage. And then look at this. This is an attack all. And then we have fire from above. And then also, on top of everything, we're now going to talk about life. Ready? Life. Think about nature and healing. Ice is the supportive shield spammer, but life is basically the support healing class. If you don't have a life on you, or in your team, but you have somehow managed to find a way to have a death on your team, death can only heal via sacrifice. They have to do damage to do more towards you. They can critical and heal you, but if you have a life, check this out if I have it. I think I do. Yeah, Rebirth. 800 healing. But think about it as a life. You have J gear, aka healing gear, meaning if you have J gear, it does more healing outgoing. Meaning you could have almost a full health heal if they critical. If not, you get a full heal if they critical. For myself, I want to see if I have my J gear on. Yes. This is my J gear. So if I go here, I have 133% outgoing healing. If I ever try to critical with Rebirth, I can 100% heal somebody with a Rebirth. And I'm not even life. Which is actually insane. A lot of money, by the way. So, we're going to go with the pros and cons of the 3 classes I just brought up, which was the fire, ice, life, and I'm going to say, you know what, storm. Storm and fire, like I said, pros were they're strong as actual hell, they have almost 200% damage outgoing, but they absolute blow monkey chunks with percentage on accuracy early game, but they become the strongest hitting classes in the game later on, and they have 100% chance of hitting and almost critting. Theoretically, if you don't critical by 100 on either one of them, if not all classes, there's something wrong. But now that King's Isle has made it, the higher your critical, the more damage, and higher the chance of you hitting a 2.0 times, which is 2 times more damage that you're going to hit with if you have more critical than the crit block ratio on your opponent. I would say Storm has a higher chance of doing this, where Fire has more damage. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm scared of Fire and Storm half the time. And if you aren't, you should be. Now, we're going to talk about Myth. Myth. I've seen some strong Myths. Myth is between Storm's damage and Balance's damage. Or even death at that point. The pros with Smith, Yes, I said smith because it reminds me of a myth. They can shatter. And shatter is OP as hell if you have a Maycast pet that has shatter in PvP. They can basically shatter one, and I mean one trap on yourself. And then also they can shatter all your shields on one person via the spell Shatter. And don't even get me started with Earthquake. Earthquake literally is OP as hell. Honestly, I'm not even going to tell them to nerf it because it makes sense. An Earthquake is basically hits everyone and breaks everything. Blades, traps, weaknesses that are on you. If you have a weakness and no blades, I'm going to be honest with you. I would recommend being hit with an Earthquake. But if you have a blade, at least 2 blades, maybe 3, and you also have, because everybody can learn this spell right here, these two, that's going to hurt you in many ways or forms. So if you're a Storm and you have like 3 blades and a Elemental Blade, I would probably be pissed. But if you have shields, traps, blades, and weaknesses on you, it destroys everything on everyone. The animation needs to go faster because if you have a lot of stuff on you and you get hit with an Earthquake and you have a lot of people on your team, the animation of it removing everything takes forever. Also, another little side effect is a thing that I would like to call Belzic, or however you pronounce it. I'm going to butcher it, I'm not even caring. And I don't have the spell, but it's called Medusa. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, Myth can stun more than you can chew. If you go against a Myth boss, expect to be stunned unless you go to Diego and learn a thing called Stun Block. If you don't have a Stun Block, you are going to be stunned. You can also get Stun Block as a stat, but they don't have a lot of gear that gives you a high enough at that chance, where you need to learn an aura from Diego that helps you with a 90% guarantee you will Stun Block. That's not a Stun Block shield, but if you want a 100% guarantee you are going to be Stun Blocking, basically you should always have a Stun Block shield on you. You get 2. Now, if you're in PvP, I am going to be... If you are a PvP player and you're watching this, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if you get anything on you, basically, that's another guarantee with Storm. They have a thing called a Storm Lord. Basically, it hits everyone and stuns everyone for 1 round. But if you're in PvP, I have seen this in tournaments. If you have 2 people on your team, you get 2 stun blocks per person, even though it's 1 round. And if you have more than that, you get just about the same amount of stun block shields as there are people on your team. So if you have 4 people, you get 4 stun block shields. If you have 3, you get 3 stun block shields. And if you have 2 or 1, it falls down on 2 or 1 people. Now, I'm going to say one thing that honestly doesn't need to be fixed, but needs to be looked at. And I brought this up in the beginning. So, for every single class, everyone has this one specific spell. No matter who you are, what you are, you will always have it on everything. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So if you go into here and you go to your wands, everyone has a thing called a wand hit. Now, you guys are going to be like, what is the problem, Panda? Well, I'm going to tell you. Remember how I said balance cannot go against anything without being screwed by a weakness. I'm not gonna say it's a bad thing to be weakness, but when you can't get out of something and somebody trash talks you and saying you are a bad player because you can't counter a weakness, irks me. And I'm gonna tell you why. Are you ready? Remember how I said I have this and this? Meaning if I enchant my blade and then I enchant it again, I don't have that on me right now. Hold on. I don't think I can change my gear. God damn it. Main. There we go. This can be put on here, and this can be put on here, and they're two different blades. If I have this, that's an extra, and also let's say I'm 1v1ing a boss, and I have a feint, which is basically this. I have now two blades and a feint, or even an enchanted feint, which is basically a potent trap on a feint, which brings it up to 80. Now, here's the problem. If I were to wand hit out of a Dark Pact, I'm going to be wasting an 80 and two blades that I enchanted, and I had to wand hit into a bad juju, which is basically a negative 90. Negative 90s are absolutely brutal, because it's almost a 100% weakness on you, and you lose almost your entire damage you're doing to the boss, no matter how many things you have. Now, I have seen a Storm use a thing called Leviathan, and critical out of it without anything. Just a enchanted Leviathan, critical out of a Dark Pact. Not Dark Pact, Bad Juju. And it hurts me to see that they can critical out of a Bad Juju and still do almost 1,300 damage. Or even, yeah, 13,000 damage. I think with at least like one feint, they could do that. But if they were to do a blind with nothing with it, it would be like 5,000 or something. Where balance can't do anything. If they wand hit, they lose everything that is on them, and they are screwed. Now, people are telling me one thing, and I'm trying not to push this to 30-minute mark. We are pushing 27, almost 28. Actually, we just hit our 28. But I want to tell you one thing, and this is going to blow your mind. And this is going to change your mind for anyone who has told anyone who has a balance that wants something to counter something. Basically, this spell right here. Dark Pact. People have told me consistently to learn Dark Pact through either a gem or get them as a TC. I'm going to go to the library because that's the closest, and I don't want to walk all the way. Or is there anybody who is in there? Nope. Okay. I'm going to go to the library, and I'm going to show you something that's going to blow your mind. So this is what happens to me every single time I go to the bazaar. Like I said, it's the closest thing that I can go to the bazaar, so I don't have to walk all the way to the bazaar and waste time. There is no Dark Pact in here. And people are like, they're not that hard to come by. They are. They are absolutely horrendous. Even in Live Realm, it is just as bad. For me, at least. People are like, get Cleanse Charm. Cleanse Charm is a TC. What if it was to be banned in PvP? This spell, the way King's Isle is trying to work it, is basically any spell that you are known to not have on your character is getting banned. Basically, if balance isn't known to get rid of weaknesses, Cleanse Charm is basically not known to be on a balance. It's not known to be on any class, actually. So theoretically, this could be banned anytime soon. So how am I going to be able to counter that? Every single class can just one hit out of Oblivion and just remove everything. The tower shield, two weaknesses, if it's like a 2v2 and somebody was to use, like, let's say, I'm trying to think of something. I don't know. Like, I was going to say bad juju, but bad juju now has changed to where PvE, it's a negative 90, and PvP, it's basically a negative heal. Let's say a balance negative 25s you, and if they're teaming up in 2v2 with somebody that's a death that has a negative 40, that balance now has to find its way out, and they have to either have a storm that has clench charm, but at the same time, are you really going to hit as a balance in 2v2? You'd rather just stack your teammate at that point, right? Well, as a 1v1, people are saying just mana burn. Mana burn's being nerfed, and I don't exactly know what else to do. So, overall, I wand hits that's not a balanced wand hit should not be removing balanced blades. Either have that as the case, or have at least one more alternative that isn't this spell right here. Ready? If I go in here, see this right here? This is a hit into a blade. Now, guys are telling me Savage Paw is a fantastic spell and it should be your only alternative to a weakness, because I can hit out of a weakness or weaknesses and lose everything in the process and not have to start over. Well, here's the problem. There's more solutions than it is to just waste 5 pips and hope for a pip conserve than it is to have to start over. How come every other class can hit with a 0 pip spell where balance needs to use a Savage Paw that's 5 pips out of my 12 if I have max power pips? Well, here's the problem. If I wanted to hit with that and then follow up with something, that's one extra round I would want to blade up one more time. I don't want to rely on something that's so cheap like a mana burn and just rank myself up in the ranks in the cheapest way possible. I'm not as toxic balance. So, here's a follow-up to everything I wanted to tell you guys. Basically, here's the stuff. Fire and Storm, pros and cons. Pro, they're absolutely destructive, but cons, they're absolutely horrible in the beginning of the game. Ice and Life are amazing tanky classes, but absolute monkey chunks as a con in the beginning of the game with damage. But early game, Fire and Storm are still pretty strong, but it's harder to pull it off. Myth, fantastic as a douchebag class. No matter what. Doesn't matter. At all. It could be early game, late game. They're weak, but they're alternatives and utilize their special stuff, like stunning. Later on, when they get to 36, or 32, I think. I think it's 32 or 36. I think it's 32. I forgot exactly when you get Earthquake, but once you get Earthquake around the 30s, you can be a douchebag all you want. Now, Death and Balance, they are basically the same. They're fantastic as a pro, as a supportive class, and they are somewhat in the round ratio of pretty strong, and Death is the same way, but they have an extra add-on, which they can heal for what they do damage of by half that, and on top of everything, they have almost the same amount of weaknesses as Balance does, where Balance is just balance. They have their pros and cons. It's not an easy class to solo, but it's really fun to utilize, since they have the rights and abilities of using almost every single class as their own alternative. But the only time you can ever use a free-to-play aspect of more than one way of using spiritual stuff, like spiritual is basically death, life, and myth. They have only one, which is Chimera, where they do have another one, which is a Spellement, which has been around since last year-ish, in a better way. It's been around for, I think, a year and a half now, but it's been way more common now due to like Beast Moon events and other alternatives, like packs, aka pay to win. Oh, I need to show you guys something. So, remember how I said there was a few spells? I'm going to show you, kind of, but I'm not going to show you all of them. Alright, I'm like, instead of having to search for all of them, I'm just going to do it this way. Which I basically went over to the guy over in the comments, which is right here. And I'm just going to show you guys through this. So, basically, Obsidian Colossus, now you guys can be absolutely assholes and say Balance now has even more of a reason to be a douchebag because of this. And honestly, I wish it was just a 6 pip spell that gave a damage or weak damage and then just give me a blade. Cause what's the point? Then we got Monster Mash that still I feel needs to be nerfed a tiny little bit. Because of how much damage you get if you have a weakness on somebody. And then Inferno Salamander, absolutely amazing. And then we have Frost Feather, which I'm not an ice, so I don't know how hyped this thing is. Sprite Swarm, you can get it as a May cast on your pet. You really don't need this unless you want to enchant it, which is absolutely amazing. I'm probably going to learn this if I can. I think you need to learn Sprite to learn this, so I think I can learn this. And then we have Thunderman. I'm actually kind of hyped for my friends because I have 3 friends in real life. I think it's 2. I think there's 3. I'm not sure. I know I have 2 that actually want this. And Golem Taunt, honestly, this is kind of broken. Just a little bit. Since they banned removal of that, of golems in PvP, that should be even better. So, theoretically, I'm not trying to make this video as a complaint to balances. I was just trying to make it more as the pros and cons of each class, and basically have a way to kind of showcase the newers and the older players if they learn something new. Maybe the old players would want to figure that out. But if I got anything wrong, if I missed anything, I'm doing this out of the heart and not scripted, and things that I actually know. There are more stuff and people who have almost every single character in the game as like maxes, and they've done this. But I wanted to do it more as, instead of a scripted layout, like an hour-long explanation, I wanted to make it more of a 40-ish, 30-ish minute video. We're pushing our 41-minute mark. I didn't want to even make it past 30. But I kind of got jibber-jabbered. Just a little bit. Besides that, guys, if you enjoyed it, I'm sorry if this took too long, but if you guys enjoyed it, smash the like button. It would help a lot. Subscribe if you're new, because I really want to grow this channel. And if you can, please check out my videos of my crafting quest. It's not a playthrough. Well, technically it is, but it's in a unique way that I really want other people to kind of try it out. Just check it out. And check out my reaction to Test Realm, because honestly, the reaction was priceless. And I'll catch you guys hopefully soon. I love every single one of you, even if you're new. And I'll catch you guys hopefully soon. And Ragers, Out, guys.